Hey everybody, welcome to my front porch here in Maui. You can see the Pacific Ocean right in the background. I wake up to this view every morning. I'm hoping you all are having a beautiful summer, as beautiful as you can imagine. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited because Mr. Hinton is here, and he is the author of this incredible book called The Sun Does Shine. He came with his best friend, Lester, and Lester's wife, Sylvia. They arrived yesterday, and everybody who works around here, all of my staff, all of my friends who are here, everybody's read the book, and we were just so excited. Mr. Hinton's coming, Mr. Hinton's coming. But then I woke up this morning thinking, I can't imagine what Anthony Ray Hinton has been through, and don't actually want to imagine it for myself. But when you think about for yourself, when somebody lies on you or says something about you that isn't true, or even just trolls you in social media with stuff that is not accurate, how upsetting that is. So can you imagine how upsetting it would be to have somebody tell a lie about you that costs you 30 years of your life? That is what happened to Anthony Ray Hinton. Thanks for joining me on the porch.
Thanks for having me. Beautiful here.
It's beautiful here.
Yes.
I just, I'm going to open this up for everybody who's watching us live on Facebook around the world, but I just wanted, can you enjoy it? Are you at a point in your life now where in this beautiful space, and I have to say Maui is one of the most beautiful places on earth, can you actually receive it?
I can at times. And I think like anything in life, you can enjoy a part of it, and then a part of it shut back down. My mind still goes back to death row, and 30 years is a long time. And if anything, you don't forget what you went through in 30 years, whether it was up and good, whether it was bad. And mostly 30 years for me was bad, pure hell. I can't explain what it's like to live on a 5x7. But the most thing about it is you're there because someone lied on you, as you said earlier. Someone knew that they was lying on you, knew that they was perhaps going to get you convicted and sentenced to death. And it makes you wonder what type of people could do another human being like that.
And the fact that you will never, ever get your life back. You can't get those 30 years back. So we're taking your questions. I have some already. Julie H. from Westbrook, Maine asks, how has this experience, given you were wrongly convicted, impacted your sense of trust in others, and how does this inform you moving forward?
Well, to be honest with you, I was come up trusting people until they gave me a reason not to trust. And when this happened, and since I was on death row, I only trust two people, and that's Lester and Brian Stevenson. It's sad because
Brian Stevenson, the
lawyers that work diligently to prove my innocence. And it makes me really hurt inside that I no longer have that freedom
to trust
people. Because trust was something that I gave, and then here a few men came and just took it away. They didn't just take it away from me, they took it away from other people that I would love to trust. And you don't know who really have your best interests at heart. And you don't know what they're thinking. And so I just try my best to not think about. I let people say and do whatever they want, but when it come down to decision, I always go to Mr. Stevenson. And I said, what is you think the best? Because at the end of the journey or anything, I don't want to have to go back to him and not say, well, why you didn't tell me this?
There are comments that the camera is shaking. Keith, stop shaking the camera, could you please? Is that you? Huh? The camera's shaking. Keith is my photographer here. I don't have sorry, y'all. Your hands look pretty steady to me, but I don't know what to tell you. If you can bring that stand closer, maybe you could, then that's going to take up a whole lot of things. Just try to hold it steady if you can, Keith. I just called you out. Elizabeth Lesser wants to know, it's so striking that you on death row, isolated from seeing and relating to other humans for so many years, had more exposure to men of a different color and upbringing than many people on the outside do. And it was that exposure that changed the hardened hearts of men. How do we I guess it means we as a society, we as a culture, open our circles of friendship and family so that we can work on each other's hearts. You actually said at dinner last night, I thought this was so meaningful. You said, I'm not even trying to change people's minds.
Absolutely.
I just want to open and change people's hearts.
Yes.
So how do we all start to do that? Elizabeth Lesser wants to know.
Well, I think you have to start by being honest with one another. Mm-hmm. We can't lie to one another. We have to be just point blank honest. And being on death row, after being sentenced to death, all of us had the same sentence, and we had no reason to lie to one another. You just can finally be free to tell the truth.
Because you often say, and you say it in the book, and I've heard you say it here, you were saying it on the porch last night as we were all talking, that there was no racism on death row.
No, none. All of us wore the same clothes, wore the same type of boots, ate the same breakfast, the same lunch, the same dinner. Whenever we was allowed outside, we all had the same 15, 30 minutes, whatever they gave us. And so there was nothing to be jealous of another human being for. And you have to remind us, we all had one thing in common, there's nothing else. We all had been condemned.
Yeah.
And society say, hey, we'll be better off if none of you were here. And so that is one of the things I think that kept racism from being existing on death row. It's the fact that we all had the same.
Yeah. And another thing that actually allowed you to survive was your vivid imagination and your ability to do what in the psychology world or psychiatric world is called actually disassociate, really to take yourself out of this moment and be somewhere else. So much so, I just saw that Patrick just asked, how was your marriage to Halle Berry?
Well, my marriage to Halle Berry was beautiful.
In your mind?
In my mind for 15 long, beautiful years. Halle Berry was, I have to say, the perfect wife. She always said, yes, dear, and okay, dear. And she was a force of support.
Yeah.
And I was just able to take my mind and just go wherever I wanted to go.
Yeah. Somebody named, hi, Renisha Wilson, who asks, how has this elevated your faith?
Well, my faith, even more so today than it was then.
Yeah.
I am a witness. I don't know if people are familiar with a story in the Bible about a man called Job.
Yep.
And Job lost everything as well, and God gave him that back and more. I didn't have anyone say, well, you ought to cuss God and go and let the state of Alabama execute you. But faith is something that my mom taught me as a little boy from the age of 4 years old.
What would justice be for you now? Jan Mitchell wants to know.
Well, I don't think there can ever be true justice. I think true justice would be the state of Alabama first admitting that they made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And justice is not just for me, it's for the victim family as well. And so they deserve some justice. And so until... They
deserve to hear from the state of Alabama, this man did not do this to your family members.
Absolutely.
We still don't know who did this to your family members. And to this day, the thing that's so upsetting to me is that not one person has apologized from the state of Alabama. And obviously, no apology means that they've not compensated you in any way. Nope. And even now, making it difficult to get your Social Security.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't paid
wrong.
I hadn't paid anything in the system for over 30 years, so I have nothing to draw out of the system. And so every day I have to get up, and at the age of 62, I have to still get up and try to grind like I'm just starting over.
Yeah, that's why I want everybody to buy. Would y'all just buy the book if you don't have it already, so that Mr. Hinton can at least have some happy days in his life? Buy the book. If you don't want to read it, pass it on to somebody else. And I, of course, am getting no money from the book, so don't think I'm telling you about it. I just want him, first of all, I want you to read the story. I want people to know the story, and I want them to know that there are hundreds of other Anthony Hintons out there. The estimation is that at least a quarter of the men who are on death row should not be there, are there because they were poor and didn't have the lawyers and didn't have, the support.
Absolutely.
And that's why, killing people and then figuring out later on we killed the wrong person. We have to ask who we are as a nation if we're doing that. James Van Echo, great quotes from your mama. What he says, you have lots of great quotes. And what's your favorite?
My favorite is that my mom would tell me, you are not responsible for how people treat you, but you are responsible for how you treat others. And I think that is how I was able to forgive those that did this to me because of what she told me as a young boy. And they have to give an account for their own action. And I truly believe that judgment day will come for whoever think they're doing something despite racism or whatever. Those men will pay a price one day if they haven't already paid the price.
Rich Cruz just asked, does anything upset you now? Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Very few things upset me because being on death row for 30 years gave me the opportunity to really realize what's important in life. And there's nothing more important than waking up first, finding the blood still running warm in your vein, and to get up and realize that you have friends and family. And I think that enjoying friends and family is the most important thing it is.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting because we now have had a couple of meals together, and Mr. Hinton had told me that when he was in prison, the biscuits would come in the morning. They were so hard you could throw them against the wall, and they would crack the wall. So this morning we had biscuits. The first thing I did was test the biscuits, make sure the biscuits weren't too hard. But you actually made a decision. That's why I think that your life, even though 30 years were stolen from you, and nobody can repay that. No amount of money can repay that, although it would be good, state of Alabama, that he received some. But you said you actually made a decision 3 years in, after you got your voice back and could speak, and realized that this is my situation. You just made a decision.
Yes, I made a decision. You know, there was nothing I could do about being convicted. And I had to rely on someone else, hopefully, would come along and take up my case. But my decision was to live. I knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. But I knew I had to create a life there in order for me to survive.
In a 5x7 cell.
I had to. Because if you don't, then you will find yourself hanging like other men did. You have no hope. And I just had to.
11 men hung themselves.
And I just had to find something inside of me that would make me live a life. And I never was, to be honest, in that 5x7 mentally. I was gone every day. Every day I was gone somewhere.
You take yourself in your own mind.
Yes, I went to England, visit the Queen. I went to Paris. I went to France. I had wine, and the best wine. And I'm not a drinker, but I drank some in my mind when I was in France and Paris. And I had dinner with some of the most beautiful women in the world and had some of the best conversation with dignitaries. And so I felt
your mind.
In my mind. I mean,
did people think you were nuts?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the guard used to tell my friend Lester, you really need to tell this lawyer that he don't lost his mind. I mean, I come back and
Did you think you'd lost your mind at some point?
No. I didn't. I mean, this is what I
did to save yourself.
Save myself.
Yeah.
And no one else was reaching to save me at that particular time. And so until someone was reaching down to help me, I had to try to do whatever I could to save myself.
I love Lindsay from Los Angeles, who asked, you were out of society for 30 years. Besides technology, have you noticed a change in our culture, how people relate or treat each other?
Yes, I think people treat each other worse than when I went in. And what I've noticed since I've been home is that they don't have any time and communicate one-on-one. Everything now is done by cell phone, texting, and all of that. I had the privilege of going to a few colleges, and even at dinner, the student was on their phone and texting, and there is no communication. My friend and Lester, now we have dinner, restaurant, sometimes we have it at my house, his house. We never be on the phone. Yeah. We talk to each other verbally.
Yeah.
And I think we as a society have lost that, especially with your kids. Everybody's on a different page now.
Yeah, literally on a different text page.
Absolutely.
I hear Gail's watching from New York, and Gail just wanted to ask, what would it take for you to trust again?
I really can't say it. I think it's going to take time. 3 years would not undo what 30 years have done. But I promise you, I am trying every day to get to a place where I can trust, where I can see people for who they are and not what I think they are. And so when you've been just done the way I was done, I hope people understand it's hard to give another human being that type of trust.